Today's video is going to be more of a demonstration of quality of video equipment throughout the years. I've got a couple cameras here. Actually, I've got more that I'm going to show you. I'm just showing you three of them on the bench here. And I'm going to do a comparison of the video quality of these various devices. Now, I'm making this recording today on a Sony HDR FX1. This is a professional high definition camera, and I've intentionally put it into standard DV mode. The reason for that is I want a fair comparison in terms of quality between the cameras I'm going to show you coming up. I was going to make this recording on my JVC GY DV500, but it seems to have developed a problem since the last time I used that camera. I'm getting a tape transport error, and I don't really feel like fixing it tonight. So I'm doing these shots on this camera, but what follows is there's going to be shots taken from these three cameras, a couple of other ones that I've got kicking around, which I'll tell you what they are when they come up on the screen. And I'll even show you a comparison to video off of the big boy here. When I say the big boy, I mean that big boy. That's a professional studio quality JVC. It's a DV format camera. It's a 3-chip camera like the one that I'm shooting on. This is also a 3 CCD. This one here though is just a standard definition. The one I'm shooting this on will do standard and high definition. All of the recordings are going to be recorded onto this unit. So that we have a fair recording, I'm going to record everything onto this HDV deck, set for DV mode. That way we're going to get a digital recording of the analog signal from all of these cameras. I would like to been able to show you the quality right off the JVC, recorded right to tape, and that was what I had intended to do the base shots with, but that's not going to happen because, as I say, the camera broke down and it's just coming up with an error when I load the tape. So I went and grabbed the Sony for my base shots, and but we're going to record the analog output onto this portable recorder. Now, professional cameras have an internal color bar generator. There's the color bars from the internal generator on this Sony that I'm using now, the HDR FX1. As you can see, the mini DV recorder also has a color bar generator. So we'll start by recording some bars at the beginning of our tape. And then I'm going to start with the various cameras. Anyway, I think this might be an interesting comparison between the different cameras and the different price ranges of these cameras and how they look. So let me just get set up. I'm going to be setting these cameras up on a tripod one at a time, and I'll do some shooting with them and recording them on this tape here. Okay, first up, it's going to be this black and white Hatitachi camera. So I'm just setting up for the recording of this now. This Hatitachi camera actually has a zoom lens on it, and as you can see, but it's not a bad picture. You have to be about 5 feet away before you can focus on it, but now this is early technology. This would be like 1970s. These cameras were used like in a lot of high schools and stuff before color TV, and these were typically recorded onto open reel VTR, going back to, well, when I went through the school system in the early 70s, we had them. We had a black and white. It was a Sony system. I actually have a black and white recorder that this camera works quite nicely with, actually. if I can get the thing working, that's a future project. The problem with the old reel-to-reel tapes, well, it's the tape themselves. You just can't get the tapes, and the tapes, the binder broke down on all of the tapes, which caused the tapes to break down, and well, then there was just no way to play them back, as the tapes would stick to the drum. Anyway, here's a look around the test bench with this for what it is. Black and white, which is essentially just a security camera with a zoom lens on it, is all this is. Right? Most security cameras had a fixed lens. This one had a zoom lens. This little lead here is for the auto iris. The auto iris is broken, so there's no point in plugging it in because the lens is jammed open. All it does, if I plug it into the iris control on the camera, you can hear the motor running trying to adjust the iris, but the actual iris motor inside the lens is shot. As you can see, even if I turn it manually here, it's not making any effect on the picture because the lens itself is shot. Okay, that's that camera. Let's take a look at the next camera. Yeah, Sony, this one's an HVC 2400. This was a home camera, one of the early Sony color cameras. Actually, they had I think a 2200 prior to this. This is a vidicon camera, and well, I'll show you the picture on this one here. This camera we saw earlier in a demonstration a few years ago, and this one was not working very good at all. I pulled the covers off it and tightened down the ground screws, and as you'll see, the picture is considerably better than it was the last time you saw it. Early home video cameras did not work well without a lot of light, so we're going to crank on the 400 watt metal halide lamp here and see how that improves the color on this one. Okay, I'm going to use this picture as a background to test the cameras on for color. I think it's got some pretty good contrast in it. We're starting out with the HVC 2400, and we'll take a look at the image quality off this. Now, this is a single tube consumer grade camera that at the time was around $2,000. Next up is the Sony HVC 2800. This was the top of the line. This was as good as it got in the prosumer color camera. So let's take a look at some images from this. This is the Saticon mixed field, SMF as they called it. It had full auto white balance. You could manually override it, auto sensitivity, high and low. You had a good viewfinder on it. The viewfinder's broken, by the way. This is the camera that I shot that video a few weeks back on the Betamax. The viewfinder worked in. Now it's got a problem. Anyway, let's take a look at some pictures from this one. Next up, the Sony DXC 1800. This was an ENG camera designed to be plugged into a portable 3/4 inch or a portable Betamax machine. I had the next model up, which I no longer have, I sold, but I had the DX3 M3 at one point when I was doing professional work, which was the three tube version of this camera. This is essentially the same camera that we just saw, the HVC 2800, but it has far superior signal processing, as you will see from its image. And this basically brought the single tube camera to a level that was very close to the 3-tube camera that cost 5 times the price. This camera, when it hit the market, was around $5,000. The M3 was around $12,000 just for the camera. And now this brings us to the last camera that I'm going to look at in this demonstration. This is a 3-chip broadcast quality JVC GY DV500. Exceptionally popular camera with videographers over the years. This camera was, in Canada it was 10 grand. And the tripod that it's on is also a real brute. Look at this for a tripod. Gotta like that. Like, tripod's $2,500, folks. And I will be using that with my other cameras. I just have to get, this uses a 3/8 screw mount, and I need to get the 1/4 inch screw mount for the head so that I can actually use it with my other cameras, because that is a beautiful head. Very, very smooth, very heavy. That tripod's not moving anywhere. Let's take a look at some pictures off of this camera. Again, we're gonna look at the same image. Here it is off the Sony. And we're going to look at the DV recorded off of the JVC. Well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this little look at some of these cameras I've got here. As you saw, the JVC's got a full variable speed zoom. Actually, this Sony also has a variable speed zoom. If I put it into servo zoom, I've been zooming this thing manually, but this one here, this one has a nice variable speed zoom too. Like all good cameras, variable speed. Gotta like that. It really makes for some nice shots. Most cameras don't, or they do and they don't have very good control. My 4K camera has pretty good variable speed zoom, but I still think that the color quality off of a 3-chip camera is superior to any single chip, even the 4K. As good as it looks, I still think a 3 CCD camera has better color. I'm only shooting this in standard definition because I wanted my backup shots to match what my test subject camera. So this production is in standard definition for that reason. But you guys have seen some stuff done with this HDV, and I do use it from time to time when I'm shooting videos, especially if I have to shoot a monitor, because it doesn't have the rolling shutter issue that the CMOS based cameras do. Hope you enjoyed this little quick comparison of different video cameras throughout the ages. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.